ticket veteran and Bill Callahan fan club president, Jake Bakoven.
I love Billy C.
Coming at you live from the Coppel Chevrolet GMC studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. On air and online at theticketfm.com. Sponsored by the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. This is On the Block with Strick and Bob. Hold up.
We are back on the block for another week here on 93.7 The Ticket. I'm Jake Bakoven. He is Eric Strickland, and we make up on the block. Plenty to talk about this go-round, this Monday edition of the show. Huskers getting a victory over the weekend in basketball. We'll hit on plenty of that around the 5 o'clock hour, but also Husker football press conference from today. That means Husker spring practice is underway. It is exciting. I know they're not coming off of a great year, but it doesn't matter. Football is in the air, and so we all feel a little bit better about that. Strick, how was your weekend? Are you getting a little bit more pumped for football?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'm excited about, obviously it's a lot of the stuff that, especially in the college side, a lot of the stuff that we talked about here on the block is being presented based on, some of the pressures, the presser. Some of the areas that we feel are going to be important areas, some of the highlights on the quarterback races and how that's going to look. I think one thing that to note on is that we can't overlook, as we've talked about, a lot of what's going on with the other quarterbacks that are in the room. I mean, I know we keep our eyes on Purdy, and we put our eyes on Smothers and also on Thompson, but at the end of the day, there's other guys there that I think are going to be excited to get into the fight of this spring game, to get their feet wet and to let everybody know that they're here too. Obviously, some of the other stuff that we've talked about, not all your players are going to be in the house, so some of those things can change depending on how quickly they pick up on the playbook and the defensive schemes and so forth and so on that's wanted. But that's on the college side. The football side is still just it's so many things that are going on out there. International football, where people are going to land. Is there going to be unretired players that are top tier players? Is top tier players going to stay where they're going to stay? There's so much in the rumor mill out there right now. Some are being presented to be untrue. Some are being to be just kind of speculation. So there's just a lot of stuff in the air right now with regards to football and sports in general. Crazy Saturday we'll probably get into as well with regards to college basketball, with the top 6-7 teams took an L over it, which is an unusual thing. Sometimes you can see 2 or 3, at a time, but to see that many fall is pretty tough. And so we'll dig into that. So yeah, man, I mean, I think it's a wonderful day. It's a Monday. Obviously a lot of stuff happens over the weekend, and so we'll delve into that a little bit.
Yeah, Mondays are always some of the easier shows to do because there's plenty to talk about, and we certainly have that today. Again, I want to start with the Husker football press conference and just kind of get your thoughts on some of the quotes that we heard from today. First of all, it sounds like from kind of what we're hearing, I think Ty Robinson said it, is that Casey Thompson came in and he was kind of a leader over there at Texas and is pretty vocal here coming in at Nebraska. Is that difficult to do as you've transitioned from teams to teams? If you're the new guy, but especially maybe having played point guard in the past too, is you're expected to be the leader. Is that hard to kind of come in and command the room, or is that just like a first day type of thing? By day 3, I'm sure you're pretty back into your leadership role and you're doing what you're used to doing.
Yeah, I think it bodes well for you to step in there with confidence and come with your head up and looking to make acquaintances with those that you're going to go into the trenches with. So I think it's a valuable thing to have that kind of swag and that kind of confidence and that kind of leadership, quality that's embedded. I don't think leadership is something you can learn. I think you can learn aspects of it. I think it's just a part of you. And some of it do it in a different way. I think we've also talked about, some lead quietly, and just actually perform and go out there and take charge by the way they perform in the game, by executing what is called on them to execute, and doing more where there's something called on them to do more in. But there are examples of those. I think Tyronn Lue was one of those type of guys. Yes, he's a coach now, but I think Tyronn Lue, especially on the basketball side, was a guy who led with quiet confidence. Tommy Frazier, even himself, although he was vocal, I think he led also just by way of going out there and getting the job done. He commanded what he commanded in the space that he commanded. I think he was one of those type of guys. I mean, there's guys out there like that just actually come in and get the job done and lead by that way. I don't think it's a thing where he has to press to do that. I think he just comes in. He's going to have to show and prove. So that will improve it and make it even more by coming in and showing and proving. But definitely come in and lead and take charge and command the areas that you're called to command upon. And then that extra confidence and those extra parts of it will begin to take effect upon the team once they get a chance to get confident in you and what you're saying and what you're talking about.
Well, it's kind of interesting too. A lot of the defenders were kind of talking about how it was a bit different playing, at least, getting those reps, the first team reps against somebody that other than Adrian Martinez. So you're going through kind of just a different way to play different quarterbacks that are getting those reps. Mark Whipple was pretty quick to mention Casey Thompson was getting the number one reps. Again, this is first day of spring practice, so there's still a lot to kind of be figured out. A lot of injuries that are preventing all of your top personnel from being in there. No pads. So, I mean, this isn't full contact college football or anything like that. So, again, a lot of stuff for that context, but still, it sounds like they were not shy in throwing him in there as, okay, the expectation is for this guy to be the number one. So let's start him there. We don't have to dance around and flip a coin and try to get everybody feelings in the right place. Let's start with what the expectations are. And it's kind of cool too to see the differences in how people approach that too, because Frost wasn't so quick to say that. He might be going with a different sort of philosophy as far as, all the jobs are open and everything's got to be earned and all that. But Mark Whipple didn't blink when you asked him, okay, who's taking the number one rep? So, and when he was kind of further questioned about it, it was just kind of like, why, right? I mean, he kind of did say it, like, Casey Thompson, yeah, well, why he's the number one. And so sometimes that stuff makes sense, but I think it's kind of funny to see the different approaches, I guess, from that, even from within the same staff.
Yeah, when you start to go down the line of the coaching tiers, I mean, again, we talked about that. Frost this year being more of a CEO, so he has to speak in that type of tone. But the ones that's commanding that specific room, that individual gets to dictate a little bit more. It would be no different in a corporate structure, right? Where you have your CEO and your COOs, and then you start to move down the tiers. You get into your supervisor roles that command specific areas, and those individuals speak to certain individuals based on what they see, what they know, what they expect. What they've delved on and what they've deep dived in on film. When they look at those types of things, they can speak more specifically to those areas. But sometimes people use that as a means by which to inspire you to step up your game a little bit, right? If you it would be no different if somebody getting traded. I've had those scenarios where someone got traded in at my position, and it spurned my competition level to raise. So in practice, I went a little bit harder. I did a little bit more. I did a little bit extra. I put in a little bit more work because I knew that time was of the essence for me as far as getting on the court. And that I think that could bode well for other players as well. You look up and down that board, everybody is going to get an opportunity. And so it's not a matter of who it is. It's going to be a matter of what you're going to do with that opportunity when it's granted unto you. So who's going to execute the most? Who's going to be the most consistent? Who's going to be the one that's going to shine when the lights turn on? Who's going to be the one that's going to put in the extra effort? Who's going to dog it when all those things people are watching? How hard are you really going? Are you just going half step? Are you going part of the time, part of the practice, the beginning of the practice? Are you starting slow? they're looking and assessing those things as to, who they're going to want to be out there when it comes time to put in the full-time work. And all of that's going to reveal itself. Again, it's still early. You know what I mean? I mean, there's still a lot of change. There's still a lot of potential turnover. It's still a lot of people that may shift and may do other things. You may end up seeing it at that point that there may be a person in the wide receiver room that may be a good fit on the defense that could provide something. There could be some of those shifts that are going to be looked at. And so I think there's just a lot of those things that are going on right now that are being assessed. And when you have a new organization that basically, except from dang near the top and a few other pieces, there's a lot of turnover. And I remember that for me, that was what happened. I mean, it was a transition of whole new staff, whole new ownership that gave an opportunity for someone like Strick. And that was what was presented. There is no one guaranteed. There's 15 guaranteed contracts, but there's nothing guaranteed. If you come in here and you perform and you outshine somebody, you're going to get a shot. And I think that's what's happening with the Nebraska organization right now, is that there's a lot of shots that are out there, and who's going to take that shot?
Yeah. A lot of these positions are kind of open. A lot of fight to get there. There's talked a lot today. You kind of know about the pieces that are coming back together, but who are, the questions always throughout the spring, and even if you get to fall, are kind of who are the guys we don't know that are kind of stepping up that you want to hear about. And Nash Hutmacher, Alante Brown, I think probably led that category as far as today, as far as what guys we're talking about. They also talked a little bit about, for what it's worth, and we've talked about it before, that edge rusher Caleb Tanner wants to be, Garrett Nelson was there today instead, and was talking about being an elite edge defender in the Big 10. And then, the guys behind him, now that Feldarius Payne kind of moved on, Blaze Gunnerson, Jamari Butler, those are kind of the guys that are expected to provide depth at that outside linebacker spot. So there's going to be a lot of new faces that we see pop up and try to take on the roles of a lot of the guys that departed. But again, another thing that I heard a lot today was learning, especially leadership qualities from the classes above them. And now these guys, that when you kind of step up, you go, okay, well now Ramir Johnson, you're probably the leader in this room, and Ty Robinson, you're probably the leader in this room. And you ask them what, how they take that on, is that they've learned it. They've seen it from their leaders that were in those rooms before, the upperclassmen that came before them. So that was kind of cool to see as well. I should mention Jack Wesian. I don't know if I mentioned him as a guy that kind of got good reviews for the work that he did in the offseason and getting prepared both mentally and physically for this. And at times, I think that's been a somewhat of a question that kind of circled around him his first years. Right. Just kind of, did he know the plays and stuff like that? And that could be a problem for a lot of young players as they try to get into action. But that's a good report there too. I thought it was kind of cool too. Whipple was kind of saying that their terminology that they're using, they're going to stick with a lot of the same stuff that they've been learning at Nebraska. So the terminology is not completely new for all the players to have to learn and dive through. Instead, they can get a jump start on all that, keep the terminology. Now Whipple's got to adjust to it instead. And that's just one person, making that adjustment as opposed to everybody else learning what Whipple wants to do. I think there's just, some tidbits in there today that you just go, okay, that makes sense. I like the direction that they're going there. But, as with always, and especially in this conversation, like Scott Frost said, the head coach, I'm going to look more into the special teams, care more about special teams. And I think that's going to rub off on some of the players. We're going to get starters in there and all that. A lot of this goes back to, though, like, okay, I heard that before. I heard that last year. The emphasis on special teams. Yeah. And then it was the worst special teams in the nation. So, that's especially something that's just going to be, continually brought up, and they're saying the right things. You like to hear what Bill Busch says about it too. But it's almost at this point in their career, or in this in Frost's tenure, at least, it's just, okay, I've heard good news reports before you get the football season. And then when you get there, I don't see it. So, hopefully special teams is definitely getting a lot more of a focus. And it'd be hard to believe, with how many games that it cost them last year, that's not learned by now, that's something that's going to matter here in the Big Ten.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to what we've talked about before, is that who's gonna want to do the hard and the dirty work, right? This, sometimes when you look at this generation, there's so much that has changed that everybody doesn't feel that they need to do the extra or the hard things, right? Like who's going to stick their neck out there and take a charge on like an Edey, you know what I mean, from Purdue. He's coming down the paint. Who's going to be bold enough to not do the matador on an Edey or some of just any of the big type of players that are in the Big Ten? If somebody's coming down the lane, who's going to be the one that's going to stick their neck in there? Who's going to be the one when it's on the line is going to be the one that go after that ball when it's going from one court to the next on a loose ball, and you're going to track it down and you're going to do everything you can, no matter what you've got as far as a run at it. You're going to go and give your all to try to get it. Yes, I'm tired. Yes, I know I'm going to expend a lot of energy. Who's going to be the one that say, I want to step on the special teams because it's been so bad that I want to make it that much better? You know what I mean? And I don't think guys understand that and they don't see the next level. The next level, most people aren't going to step in and be a Jerry Jeudy or step in and be like, a Henry Ruggs, who, I mean, unfortunately but before his situation, he was, going to that level. Who's going to step in and be that next great rookie? And that doesn't always fall to you. Everybody's not going to be Allen Iverson, or everybody's not going to be, that perennial athlete that they've signed to come in here and do great and big things, right? So when you have that, you've got to be versatile. You've got to be that one person that can do multiple things, because that's what they want. If you can play special teams, if you can be a multifaceted corner, you can play the slot, you can play the safety, you can play the nickel, you can play a lockdown corner, you can play a wide side corner, you know what I'm saying? A field side corner. You can do a lot of different things. You become more valuable. And that's what made me valuable. My value wasn't in the fact that I was just a guard. There's many 6'3" guards out there. The fact that I was able to stay longer is the fact that I was able to play multiple positions. I could guard multiple positions. I was willing to do any and everything to win the game. So those are the things that people are looking for in value. And I don't think kids see that these days. I don't think they understand that part of it. Everybody thinks they're going to just be able to come in and just be the guy. And that's not always the case.
Yeah, it's interesting as too, especially on special teams, how they're going to address that. Frost kind of mentioned that, how that, that's kind of what he did as his specialty in the NFL, and he's not alone. A lot of guys that, can't quite break into the starter range too often. That's where you make your money is going and playing on special teams. They talked about adding starters to the special teams unit. They need to add more to it. It's interesting because that's a little bit more on their plate. You're thinking at that point you're playing the best athletes though, and so I know that's been a complaint at the past when the special teams have struggled. I think it can kind of go either way, because it's this kind of same thing you ask these guys when they're going on to the next level is you're going to want to have some special teams reps. You're going to want to know because that's where you're going to start in the NFL if you do make it there. But on the other end, you kind of do that same thing. It was like, okay, if you're not a starter, where do you make your mark? This is where you really. So I hope that special teams is competitive. You ultimately go with the best guy. Don't just put starters in there because they're starters, that sort of thing. I hope that somebody that sees himself as third or fourth on the depth chart and they understand that there's some players ahead of them that are pretty darn good. That they're gonna okay, where can I make my mark this year? It's on special teams. I'm gonna take that spot from these guys that they're going to bring it in there. And you just need that sort of, that sort of commitment and dedication and just, overall, you need some wild guys out there on special teams they're going to scare you if you're the opposing special teams unit.
A lot of people, Bach, don't understand that part. They don't understand that the significance of special teams as far as field positioning, winning the field position battle. All of those things matter, whether it's on the offensive side or the defense, the blocking downfield, how much that can turn a 6-yard run into a 60-yard run. Some people don't understand that aspect. They think, okay, it's off. I'm not really, in this play. I'm not running this pattern, or I'm on the far side. And then the next thing you have a jump cut that ends up breaking back to your side of the ball. And because you are so lackadaisical that your guy ends up making the tackle when you could have put a body on him You could have shielded him. You could have just gotten his way. Any of those things could turn a basic play of 5-6 yards into, a 35-yard run or a 45 or 50-yard run, right? And then that's when you see those plays sometimes where the quarterback comes off of a read and finds you on a post, and he's got you and he launches, and you've half-stepped. That 1 or 2 steps causes that ball to be just a little bit too long, right? But if you run your pattern, you run it hard, then you'll find yourself. It doesn't matter if you don't get it that time. Okay, eventually they'll see it on film, or they'll read it, or they'll come off, or you go back to the huddle and say, yeah, you know what, that, just be on the eye on that post is working in this specific coverage. You know what I mean? So those are the things that I think if you get them going full tilt, full speed in every aspect. And I said the same thing, Bach, in basketball. Like, I'd be watching warm-ups, right? And I'm sitting there, I'm just watching the cats. I'm watching them warm up, and they're all just kind of flicking the ball, and they're going in and half layups and doing all these crazy. What I used to do, and what I know some of my teammates used to do, we had a full lather. I mean, it was like we had played a game before we got to the game. We were working. I know I was working on things. Okay, we run this play this day, or I was working on spinning the ball off this. If I come off of it, okay, here's what happens. I may get it. I may be able to take a couple dribbles into the paint for this floater. I was working on the things that I might see during the game. So that way, when they showed up in the game, I'm ready. I'm prepared. And that started from practice to the floor. So when you hear Allen Iverson say practice, man, come on, man. No, that was out of context, but you understand what I'm saying. That stuff transitions on to what's going to happen on the field or on the court.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, the team seems to be at least in good spirits. A lot of new names, a lot of new bodies coming in, a lot of guys that are going to take, different leadership roles. But from day one, and Mark Whipple's kind of said this too, it's kind of about that, kind of everybody getting situated, and you're not going to be too hard on him in day one, but he's not waiting long. He said then day 2, day 3, you start to get into him and get it going. So it'll be kind of fun to see how that plays out. Also, another interesting note, I think, is that as they look to replace different guys, sometimes you can't replace all the skill sets there, right? It's going to be difficult to replace JoJo Domann and everything he brought to you. But as they do look to replace that, they brought up, Luke Gifford, some of the typical guys that you think might be in that category. But they also brought Chris Kolarovich, who is apparently going to be an option over there from the linebacker position. Of course, JoJo had spent some time at linebacker too. I mean, it's hard to say what position. JoJo played the JoJo. There's linebacker, secondary. It's hard to really pencil him in there. And it's nice to have a piece like that. So while they can't force it, they're looking to see, where they can kind of use elements of that if they have a guy that could do that and provide that for them. Obviously that'll be a big piece for this defense as they try to get it going. Also, Coach Chinander, I thought it was interesting too. Just kind of listening to him and being in his huddle when asked about the transfer portal, you could tell it's a headache for these guys. I mean, and it's both ways. When guys transfer out, he said he's, fielding calls from, coaches in every different coaching circle. They want to know about, this guy's character, what's going on with him, all that. And of course, the coaching community is pretty close to each other. So I'm sure they're getting just all these different calls. And then but they understand because they do the same thing when they have a position of need. They want to get their intel, get the guy in that was previously coaching that guy and kind of figure out what's really going on there. And then the same thing you kind of talked about, you don't necessarily, there's still an adjustment. And I don't know if he said this, but it seems to be there's still an adjustment as to how do you kind of, maybe make a guy feel good if you're taking a transfer, a guy out of the portal at his position. How do you need to address everybody in that room and try to keep their spirits up or make sure that they're not, distraught by it? I mean, the transfer portal is just fascinating and how these guys are kind of going through it. And obviously Nebraska's using it quite a bit this season. And it does have a chance to kind of, maybe overshadow or at least some way make the guys that are at that position feel some type of way about it, because it's bringing in competition. At times you could probably feel like you're being recruited over, whereas just kind of the previous day, even going into camp here, I'm sure they're going to add more guys before we hit to the season. It's just got to be weird. It's got to be it's a different day and age of college football now, and the coaches are still adjusting to it.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It's definitely going to be a continuous adjustment. We're still dealing with NIL, transfer portal, people trying to understand it. How does it work? How can we benefit? How can we use it to our advantage? What's still available? There's so many more components to it now than there was, I'm sure, just some few years previous. And so when you have this, I mean, there were parts of it, but now that it's changed significantly. So everybody is trying to figure it out. Everybody's trying to understand it. Now you've got a whole new system. You've got a whole new group, and now you've got to try to make the best of what you got and where the new people that are kind of coming in and how these battles are going to go. So it's going to be an interesting spring.
Yeah, and as we get closer to break here, it is interesting to see how all that plays out, and it'll be fun to cover it out. Frost said, "I don't want to kick a turd." That was a part of a lingo he said. Do you know what that means?
I don't.
I don't either. We still got to look it up. We don't know what that means, but he said it was some farming lingo. We'll still work on that maybe during the break and try to figure out what that means. But it's a lot of fun. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break here on the block. Coming up next, we'll talk about the NFL. They announced their plans to play in Mexico, England, and Germany. And kind of want to ask you guys, do you like those games? Do you enjoy those games? There's sometimes weird timing for when they start playing in the United States. Sometimes you have to wake up early, but I think it's kind of cool to see the league expand in its reach like that. So we'll talk about that next year on the block on 93.7 The Ticket.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round, and their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back. Sure. Sauter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SauterHeyman.com.
Do you know the signs of an opioid overdose? Talk to your physician and pharmacist about naloxone, a drug used to safely reverse an opioid overdose. I'm Dr. Rob Rhodes, a Nebraska family practice physician. Be Opie ready and download a free overdose support tool, the Opie Rescue app. Search Opie Ready for more information.
Paid for by the CDC. Sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services and aired in cooperation with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
You hear that? That's the sound of extremely tender and delicious beef from Certified Piedmontese. Prime grade tenderness with a fraction of the fat and calories of normal beef. It's Nebraska-raised product and the official beef of Nebraska Athletics. Change the way you buy beef today at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, just north of 84th and Havelock, or at cpmercado.com.
Have you been told your furnace has a cracked heat exchanger? Before you spend money needlessly, call Bryant for a free second opinion. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing, 467-1111.
Freddy's Frozen Custard and Steak Burgers is all about the good and creating more of it. More drive-through celebrations, more weekend traditions, more family dinners and lunches, more car picnics and road trips, more desserts, maybe more second desserts. More celebrating being together as much as we can. There's always room for more good and more Freddy's. Keep the good going with a taste that brings you back.
March is Problem Gambling Awareness Month. If you or a loved one are struggling with addiction, contact Choices Treatment Center's 24-hour helpline at 402-476-2300 or go to choicestreatmentcenter.com. Need to send a message? Send it with cake. Congratulations? Here's a congratulations chocolate rum cake from Beatrice Bakery. Thank you? Say thank you with an amaretto cake.
I'm sorry that I accidentally hit your mailbox with my car as I was backing out of the driveway and then continued right into your prized petunias? You say that with a lemon drop cake. Everybody knows that. Beatrice Bakery in downtown Beatrice or online at beatricebakery.com. Here to help you say whatever it is you need to say. Welcome to our world of yum.
Can you believe all the empty car lots in Lincoln? How can they survive? Well, they are surviving by charging way too much and making you believe there are no cars available. Hey, this is Carl from Price Right Auto. I'm here to tell you that they are full of bull stuffing. Come out to Price Right in West Elm and you'll find over 100 great vehicles at some great prices. We won't let you get a lemon since we back every one of our vehicles with our Peace of Mind 3-month warranty. If you want a hassle-free car buying experience, check out our website, PriceRightAuto.com. Come see a great selection of affordable used cars on West Elm Street at Price Right Auto.
Back to On the Block with Strick and Bach on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
As you can imagine, if you Google kicking a turd, you can get a lot of different type of hits there on Google. So I didn't get very far into my research there. Maybe I'll just let it pass, and maybe some other day can find out what's up.
I would like to know the context, and then I could probably,
kind of figure
what was the context of what he said on the presser?
I can't remember exactly what he's talking about now.
Like I don't want to kick a turd, meaning like I don't want to like beat a dead horse type of thing. I don't want to keep kicking. Basically, it's a S situation. I don't want to keep putting my foot on the S. I mean, if I knew a little bit more about the context, I think I'd love to someday, get more time in Nebraska in the future and be able to go to some of those pressers.
Yeah,
but, that would be pretty cool.
That would be cool, and I don't even remember the context because the saying just kind of threw me off altogether. Everybody was just kind of like, "What does that mean? What is that?"
What is that?
Yeah, but maybe we could run it down. I think Rico's kind of cutting up some of the audio too over there that we might get to before the end of the show for the press conference. Just don't Google it. I figured that out. Just don't Google that. You're not going to figure it out what it means from there. At least for my I only had a few minutes, but I only looked real quick. The NFL is set to play in Mexico, England, and Germany this next season. They announced this. I think it might have been today or even just yesterday. I think it was today where they announced the Cardinals, the Packers, the Jaguars, the Saints, and the Buccaneers will all play international games during the 2022 season. Of course, for much of this isn't necessarily new. They've played in Mexico City. They've played in London quite a bit, but now they're going to play their first game in Germany. These games sometimes when they're played, at different times overseas can kind of be early morning wake up calls here in the United States to watch some of those games. But I kind of like that. I like, sometimes it's nice to wait for your football, but it's nice if there's one game that you wake up for some reason it's on at 9:00 in the morning because they're playing overseas. And it's just kind of cool for the, for the brand to keep spreading and for different countries, I suppose, to be interested in this. Of course, Nebraska's giving it their own go overseas in Ireland this next year to open up college football. But it's crazy kind of how long this stuff has been going on. I kind of surprised me to look this up. I remember when the Cardinals did play their first game. I'm a Cardinals fan. I remember when they played their first game in Mexico City, and it was the first game outside of the United States, and I was thinking, yeah, that was crazy. What is that, like 10 years ago? It turns out it been like 2005 was when they did, almost 17 years ago. So it's been going on for a while, but it's kind of cool to see it, kind of cross more borders and get into different countries to get it going and try to get a fan base out there. I don't know if it's working for Jacksonville. I don't know if London considers themselves a Jaguars town, but maybe if they sent a better team over there, that might help out too.
Well, a lot of that is spurned because of their owner, right? Shad Khan, right? So because of his international ties, I think that's where a lot of that comes from. But I know that they've tried this before. We all know that, where they tried NFL International or whatever, NFL Europe. I know that they tried that. They were looking at playing some games there for potential expansions. we all know that these particular countries are, they're big football fans, but I'm not talking about the FOOT foot. I'm talking about the FUTBOL foot. They're very big. I mean, international soccer is probably the largest, I think maybe second international largest sport. And then I think you will be surprised to know what the largest international sport is. What do you think it is?
I think basketball is getting up there, but I'm not sure.
It's actually Formula One racing.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah,
Formula One racing is crazy internationally, and so I was just as shocked as you to know how big, as far as by fan base, they are. They're at the top. I mean, they're up there too as far as international sport. But I believe football is at the top just as far as internationally, the support of the sport. But I think they're just trying to expand. They're trying to figure out a way to touch that international base, right? Football in America is just it's solid as a rock. It's a strong bedrock of American culture, and I think they're trying to figure out a way to tap in. I mean, they know that the NBA, their focus had been on China, and those relationships that have been established there. I mean, obviously you can see by way of some of the stuff that happened with Daryl Morey and just all the different issues that transpired with that, and then the issues that most Chinese international companies have with different aspects of what you speak about that. So I think those types of things, those international opportunities, people are trying to find a way to expand their base, and these getting them familiar with football. That's why you see there's probably 4 games in the UK, and then obviously probably Germany is next, and then they're trying to, because Mexico is so close, they're just trying to tap in, and that's why I think you see Arizona going there, because of the proximity between there and a lot of Hispanics that are in Arizona. So I think it's just an opportunity to trying to tap in, and just why not now when stuff is starting to reopen back up and international ties have been tapped out for quite a good couple years now. You know what I mean? So how can we get back and get our name and face back in the ire of the people? So I think that's just an opportunity they're trying to take advantage of.
Do you think, like, obviously Major League Baseball and like you mentioned, the NBA, you've even played in Vancouver, so you have a pretty good reference here. Do you think the NFL will ever eventually get a team in maybe Toronto or Vancouver or somewhere in Canada, and then also maybe Mexico City, if kind of that's who they've been flirting with? Or do you think, I mean, it seems like the biggest relation is with London, but I mean that would just be travel. That would be so much travel and just such a headache. I don't know if they would ever be able to do that. I don't want to say ever, but it's still probably quite a few years off on that one.
I think there are some planes now that are starting to get to a point to where their speed and size will enable you to get there a little bit quicker than you normally would. I know there are some that they're building, some Dreamliners that they're building that will get you there maybe in 5 hours, as opposed to 7 or 8. I think if it was going to happen, it would definitely have to be in a place like England or a place like maybe Spain. I think when you start going over to Germany, that gets to be quite far. Mexico, I just don't know. I don't know how that would work. But look, I'm not going to sit here and act like it can't. I think that, any shot that you don't take, you can't make, right? Any putt you don't put, it's not going to get a chance for a birdie. So the way I look at it is, shoot, take your putt, take your shot, look at your line and stroke it. See if it goes in, you know what I mean? So that's the way that I think I assess it and look at it. Take your shot, see if it's going to work. You've got to gauge the the bases so that you can be able to weigh the scales and see if it's going to work.
Was there any additional, I mean, from the player side of it, playing in Vancouver, was there any additional headache in playing there as far as anything other than just getting your passport out once in a while? I mean, that was pretty much the only difference between that and a road trip to, New Jersey or whatever they were playing back then?
The road trips were long. Oh, they were long. I mean, you were going to be in the air for quite a while. Even if you're going down to California, going down to LA and stuff, it's still a nice little ride. Going down to Phoenix, anytime you make your road trips, and you're in the Western Conference, so anytime you make your Western Conference trips, it's still going to be a nice little hump. I mean, the best and most advantageous spot, I mean, obviously is in the Midwest. That's why I think they move, a lot of those teams moved into that Midwest region to minimize those opportunities. That's why I think you see that old Vancouver team is in Memphis. That's why I think you see that old Seattle team is in Oklahoma City. Those listen.
Yeah.
You're not just talking about the plane. You're talking about keeping the plane on that trip. And then you're talking about the gas. You got to pay the gas too. So it's not just thinking you can just get on the plane like normal. There's gas and fuel costs that get expensive. So those are some of the things you got to look at, man. I think I understand why they made the trek. I think that was pretty much the only thing, just the long travel, the time you're on the road. I mean, you're usually when you hit the road, you're out there for about 4 or 5 days minimum.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of crazy stuff, but I guess it should be expected with just kind of the geography involved there. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, and it's time for a shootout. Restrict your chance at $15 to Buffalo Wings and Rings. All you have to do is beat Strick in a shootout here on 93.7 The Ticket on the block. Today, we're going to do a gamer. It's based on the Nebraska-Penn State game. So if you watch that one, you should be good to go. First in line will get the chance to beat Strick. 402-464-5685. Call right now for your chance to $15 to Buffalo Wings and Rings. That's coming up next here on the block.
There's not many things worse than having plumbing issues at your home or business, but it's even worse if the problem isn't fixed correctly. Select Plumbing gets it right the first time, and they specialize in several things: general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, underground sewer and water repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate at 402-560-6197. Plus, they're hiring service plumbers. Contact Select Plumbing to inquire at 402-560-6197.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now they've raised wages again, and they're hiring for production operators at $22.07 per hour, and other select jobs starting at $23.77 per hour, with wages growing up to $29.71 per hour. Continental also has salaried jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates. To learn more or to apply, go to continental-jobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
Listening to this Allstate commercial about savings might be the hardest thing about getting those savings. Save for simply becoming an Allstate customer. Save more for adding DriveWise. And save even more for driving safely. Visit allstate.com or contact your local agent for a quote today. Allstate. Minimum effort, maximum reward.
Not available in every state. New customer savings based on early signing discount. DriveWise is an optional feature. Savings vary based on how you buy. Subject to terms and conditions. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Smoothbrook, Illinois.
At Mountain Dew, we support the best and baddest disaster relief group in America, Team Rubicon. To show our support of Team Rubicon, Mountain Dew put in $1 million. And now you can help Team Rubicon too. Look for specially marked Team Rubicon bottles of Mountain Dew, Diet Mountain Dew, and Mountain Dew Zero Sugar. Enter for a chance to win weekly prizes at MountainDewTR.com and donate to Team Rubicon. You'll earn exclusive rewards when you do. No purchase necessary. U.S. residents 18 and older. Subject to rules at MountainDewTR.com. Ends 10/3/2020.
Do you know the signs of an opioid overdose? Talk to your physician and pharmacist about naloxone, a drug used to safely reverse an opioid overdose. I'm Dr. Rob Rhodes, a Nebraska family practice physician. Be Opie Ready and download a free overdose support tool, the Opie Rescue app. Search Opie Ready for more information.
Paid for by the CDC. Sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services and aired in cooperation with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC. And things have obviously been pretty challenging lately with new vehicles, with all the microchip and supply chain issues, but things continue to loosen up as Koppel gets more and more new vehicles in each and every week. We've had many customers also custom order their vehicles. So if you don't see what you want in our current inventory, we can put an order in to get exactly what you want. So go online, reserve your new vehicle at koppelcars.com. You'll be glad you did.
Have you been told your furnace has a cracked heat exchanger? Before you spend money needlessly, call Bryant for a free second opinion. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing, 467-1111.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back. Sauter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SauterHeyman.com.
I know that a lot of times, Mom, it might not seem like I'm listening to you, but I am. I hear you. And what you say really does matter to me.
I mean, let's be honest. No kid likes rules, but I get why we have them. I hear you, and I know it's because you care.
For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Sponsored by DHHS and aired in cooperation with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Today on Hey Culligan, unnecessary contaminants. Here's the referee.
Hey Culligan, that's a flag on my water for flagrant foul taste.
Ooh, that's a tough one, ref, but the solution is a Culligan Smart RO drinking water system that reduces up to 58 contaminants, making your water safer and delicious.
Yeah, I guess I missed that call.
And with the Culligan Connect app, you always know when your filters need changing.
The water's up and it's good.
Good call, ref, and we're already on the way.
Try a Culligan water softener for just $9.95 per month. Go to CulliganLincoln.com.
It's time to play Shootout with Strick. Call now, 464-5685, to take your shot against Eric Strickland. Shootout with Strick. Brought to you by Buffalo Wings and Rings.
Time to play the game!
It is time for Shootout with Strick here on the Block on 93.7 The Ticket. Give us a call on the Honda of Lincoln hotline, 402-464-5685. First one that does so will have a chance to beat Strick in the game show and, of course, walk away with $15 to Buffalo Wings and Rings for their victory. It's going to be a gamer today based on the Nebraska-Penn State game from yesterday. So we know Strick, were you able to watch much of that? I know you kind of had some plane travels too going on there.
Yeah, I was on the plane, so I didn't get to really watch it, just other than take a look at some of the box score stuff and what actually happened. Didn't get to watch the game, so somebody might tap in on me today.
Yeah, there you go. Somebody who was able to watch the game might have a heads up, actually, a chance to win this one. So I know we are working the phones over there trying to get somebody going. Maybe a little bit of struggle. I'm not sure what's going on over there, but we'll get somebody online for a chance to win this thing, and then we will talk more about that Nebraska Penn State game and just kind of the state of the Nebraska basketball program as it is moving forward here. At the top of the 5 o'clock hour. But first, we got to get this chicken given away one way or the other. We do have Matt on the Honda of Lincoln hotline. Matt, did you watch the game last night?
I caught the second half, so we'll see how this goes.
All right, that's at least something. Yeah, let's see.
That's more than what Strick got.
Yeah, you at least got a small advantage there, Matt. We're gonna let Strick go first to see what kind of points total you need to get to. So, Strick, are you ready to go?
Alrighty.
All right, we'll go in 3, 2, 1. Who led Nebraska in scoring? Bryce McGowens or Alonzo Verge?
Bryce McGowens.
That's correct. Who had the most points for Nebraska off the bench? Kobe Webster or CJ Wilcher?
I think it was Wilcher.
That's correct. True or false? Nebraska shot over 80% from the free throw line.
True.
That is true. Who led the team in rebounds, Nebraska or Penn State? Or which team led in rebounds?
Nebraska.
That is correct as well. And how many points did Nebraska score in the game?
7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
93?
It was 93. And that is a complete sweep for somebody that didn't watch the game You must have studied it like you had to talk about it today.
I did. I looked at. I was delving into because I know we're gonna talk about them today. So I kind of looked at the box scores. So that yeah.
Fair enough, Matt. We're gonna need almost a perfect game from you. Well, we will need a perfect game from you, but then we can get to the tiebreaker. But either way, we'll give it a go and see what you can get here. All right, Matt.
Come on, Strick. Yeah, okay, let's do it.
All right, we'll go in 3, 2, 1. Who led Nebraska in rebounds? Derek Walker or Trey McGowens?
Derek Walker.
That's correct. Who led Nebraska in assists? Derek Walker or Alonzo Verge?
Alonzo.
That's correct. True or false? Nebraska shot over 60% from 3.
That's true.
That is true. Which team finished with more steals, Nebraska or Penn State?
Penn State.
Penn State did. How many points did Penn State score?
70. 68.
It was actually 70. Not at 70. That's how many points it was. I was going to ask if that was your final answer, but it did end up being 70 points. Derek, therefore, Strick, you are the winner.
Oh, wow.
Worry, Matt,
it was that close. Oh, my gosh.
Matt, you're not necessarily a loser, though.
Matt, listen, real quick. That happens to me all the time. I'll have my first mind on something, and every time I'll do what you just did. I'll go like 2 below or 2 above, and I should have stayed with my first mind.
My problem, I was trying to do math real quick. I knew they won by mid-20s, and I was trying to do math, and it was not going well.
You still got pretty close, and you still have a chance to win. So do not worry. The third caller will win the chicken because Strick won. So I'll go ahead and hang up on you, Matt. And then right now, third caller gets the chicken on behalf of Strick. Strick plays for the people, and he won on behalf of the people, getting going on a Monday.
Shakalaka! Flawless victory.
So congratulations to Strick, and thanks to Matt. That was a close game, which was more than could be said about last night's Nebraska-Penn State game, which we can take that. We're happy with that. By the way, the winner will have their choice of either picking up the gift card from the station or having delivered to them by Eagle Delivery, Lincoln's homegrown courier service that we use here at 93.7 The Ticket. So we always want to give them a shout out for helping us out as well. Before we go to break, I did want to mention this. And if you're a Steelers fan, don't get too excited. It appears to be stopgap situation in Pittsburgh. The reports out recently are that the Steelers are going to go after some quarterbacks in free agency by the names of Mitchell Trubisky, Teddy Bridgewater, and Jameis Winston. So maybe not necessarily a quarterback of the future among that group, but it's certainly. I mean, that's what happens when you let go of a legend. It's going to take some time to probably find the next guy. Maybe they'll draft somebody. We'll see. But as of right now, it sounds like they're targeting in on some stopgap guys. Of those guys, which one would you be happy to see in Pittsburgh if you were a Steelers fan?
Well, I'm going to be honest. I mean, to be honest, famous Jameis was actually playing pretty good for. I know the Saints are pretty sick about it because they probably would have gotten in if he, the way that he was playing. I mean, he was playing pretty consistently from week in to week out. And it was unfortunate to have the injury that he had, especially at probably one of his better seasons, in his career. At this point, I would probably say either him or maybe Bridgewater. I have not seen anything out of Trubisky throughout his career that would give me my eye that would just light a flame under my fire. You know what I mean?
At that point, you might as well just ride with Mason Rudolph, who's already on the roster, I think.
I mean, at that point, you know what I mean? That's the way I would look at it. Depending on how he comes back from injury, I think I would get him in, test out the injury, see how he's working out, if he can pass, and get back into that kind of shape before the season. I would give him a look. It would be him, Bridgewater, and then probably Trubisky for me.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting too because there are a few different teams that are going to be out there looking for the same guys in free agency because that's usually a difficult place to find your quarterback of the future. If that was a quarterback of the future type guy, he probably would have been signed with the previous staff and not hit free agency.
There's not much in the draft, so that's you got to go find it.
draft. So there might be some teams without too good a quarterback play is probably what we're going to see coming up this year in the NFL. But I suppose that happens every year. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will dive more into the Husker basketball win. Not just that they won, but the vision. The vision came together for this team. If just for one night, that's what they were supposed to look like this whole year. Should we celebrate? Should we? I mean, I'm confused, feeling some type of way about it. We'll talk about it next year on The Block on 93.7 The Ticket.
Are you ready for $0 cost individual employee health insurance? How about company paid life insurance for you and your family? What about on-the-job paid training? Become part of the Landmark difference today. Join Landmark Implement, your local John Deere dealer, at our upcoming career fairs. Chat one-on-one with our team to hear what it's really like to work with us. Career fairs will be held at Landmark locations. March 8th in Lexington, March 10th in Kearney, March 22nd in Beatrice, and March 24th in Hastings. See more details at www.landmark.careers.
Freddy's Frozen Custard and Steak Burgers is all about the good and creating more of it. More drive-through celebrations, more weekend traditions, more family dinners and lunches, more car picnics and road trips, more desserts, maybe more second desserts. More celebrating being together as much as we can. There's always room for more good and more Freddy's. Keep the good going with a taste that brings you back.
Need to send a message? Send it with cake. Congratulations. Here's a congratulations chocolate rum cake from Beatrice Bakery. Thank you? Say thank you with an amaretto cake. I'm sorry that I accidentally hit your mailbox with my car as I was backing out of the driveway and then continued right into your prized petunias. You say that with a lemon drop cake. Everybody knows that. Beatrice Bakery in downtown Beatrice or online at beatricebakery.com. Here to help you say whatever it is you need to say. Welcome to our world of yum. Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round, and their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now they've raised wages again and they're hiring for production operators at $22.07 per hour and other select jobs starting at $23.77 per hour, with wages growing up to $29.71 per hour. Continental also has salaried jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates. To learn more or to apply, go to continental-jobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Shaping up to be a beautiful end to the month of February. We'll top out near 67. Cloud cover this morning will give way to plenty of sunshine this afternoon, and we will be looking at northwest winds around 10 to 15. Tonight, mainly clear, low of 32. Even warmer tomorrow for the start of March with a high of 74. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
You want to feel important. You want to be a part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things. You want to feel like you belong. We know. We felt that way too. And that's why we did something about it. We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers. We are normal people just like you. And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Nebraska Army National Guard. Aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association at this station.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. This is On the Block with Strick and Bach. Nebraska Basketball Hall of Famer and 9-year NBA vet, Eric Strickland.
Strickland for three! And you're going to go out of here the Big 8 tournament champion.
93.7 The Ticket veteran and lover of bread, Jake Bockelman.
What? I like bread.
Coming at you live from the Coppel Chevrolet GMC studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. On air and online at theticketfm.com. Sponsored by the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. This is On the Block with Strick and Bach. Hold up.
Once again, we're on the block here every day from 4 to 6. You can find us right here and also on Twitch, on Spotify, and on all online platforms to include theticketfm.com. We thank you for joining us on the block today. Been a wonderful discussion, talking a little bit of NFL football, a little bit about Husker football. And now we're going to delve into Husker basketball, who happened to pick up a big win on the road at Penn State over the weekend. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that right now. As you can see, East Strick won shootout with Strick today. Yeah, we on a roll, baby. Once again, I'm fighting for my right, not to party, but to get these wins and get that chicken for the people. I'm a man of the people. So yes, thank you again for joining us on the block. So Bach, my partner, Jake Bakovin, tell me a little bit about your thoughts on what you saw. I unfortunately was on a plane flying. They were having some connective issues in some instances, so I wasn't able to tap into the game while I was on the plane. But when I got home, one of the first things I did is I looked at my phone and I had to do a double take. I really did. I had to do it. Is this what I'm seeing? Did that really happen? Okay. Check the scores. Check this, just to make sure, check the box scores.
Yeah.
They got a win on the road. And that is something they have not done very well, is against a Power 5, not even just a top ranked team, but a Power 5 team getting win on the road. That's one of the things they just have not done very well. And so it's good to see them go out there and compete. And again, it goes back to what we had talked about, Bach, is when I looked at the box score, and we've continued to all throughout this season, we've talked about the recipe. We've talked about the specific things that the Huskers needed to do. And then as of late, what we've been talking about is we're seeing things on the box scores that doesn't necessarily tell of a loss. But then it's those certain things on the box scores that you see, i.e. points in the paint, i.e. points off turnovers, i.e. fast break points. You see these other little nuances of change on the box scores, and then you begin to look at the possessions and stuff like that, and then you can determine where the loss had come from. This particular game, it is the same thing. You look at that box score and you see that a lot of things are equal. A lot of things are parallel. But you look at the other points of it and you see the possessions are the same, and you see the points of the paint. The points off fast break, off of turnovers. There was a 10-point change right there, which gave them that look. And then you look at the 3-point shooting, and then you look at the field goal shooting, and you see there's a difference. And then you can determine this is why Nebraska won this game this time.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because you don't expect, if a team that's struggling that much, only one conference win all year, 1-16, if they're going to break through, they're going to have to just fight as much as they can and then barely come through at the end and maybe surprise the team. But instead, they just dominated this game from the break. They could shoot all game long to end up 65% from beyond the arc. Is not something that you expect to see replicated very often from anybody when they play games. I mean, that is hot shooting from Nebraska, and it just kind of all fell into place. I mean, Derek Walker played his role as he usually does, not just the rebounds he got, but the fact that he held John Harrar down to 8 total rebounds, a man that just came off a 20 rebound performance. I mean, to me, that's the most impressive stat for Nebraska, is that they held Penn State, one of the top 5 rebounding teams in the conference, to 22 rebounds. I mean,
and beat them by 12.
Yeah, that is hard to do.
Yeah.
And unexpected from Nebraska, that's not necessarily a strength of the team, but they seem to be putting more of an importance on it the last couple of games. And here it pays off for them. But it was just kind of cool because everybody played their role. They played well. I mean, if I would take certainly like averaging these points, because every starter was in double digits. Wilcher had 9 points off the bench. Webster had 7. Andre did what he does, coming off the bench with 4 rebounds. But everybody else, again, 25 for Bryce. Trey had 12, 15 for Verge, 13 for Mayen, 10 and 7 and 4 for Walker. Those are numbers that you would certainly love to sign up for. And obviously all of them add up to 93. So you'd like that too. But
that balance. That balance is phenomenal.
It was just one of those nights, again, and we've kind of been asking for it, and you see it once in a while from teams, is where it's infectious. One guy starts get going, and it's not just infectious. I mean, one guy gets going, the defense starts to kind of square in on him a little bit more. Somebody else hits another big shot. Now you have to start focusing on him. Now another guy's open in the corner. And Nebraska was just shooting so well. Everybody played in their role. That was what they were recruited to look like. That was the vision. I think that Fred Hoiberg, if you took away all the records and everything else, and didn't tell him what the season was going to look like, if you just gave him this box score before the season and said that's what I'm gearing toward. That's what I think that this team can be. And of course, it hasn't happened too often, but just to see it play out even once gives you some level of faith that this coaching staff kind of knew what they were doing as far as putting it together. It just hasn't come together as often as it needs to, but you understand that the recipe, or I guess that they've finished the food, they finished the plate once and for all. The recipe has worked once. I don't know how often it is going to work, and maybe it's not a recipe that's going to work very often in the Big Ten, but it is at least possible now at this point.
Yeah, there's no question about it. But here, some of the things that I also see is the efficiency and the effectiveness of the box score, right? In the past, we've seen 27 threes, almost 30 threes. We see mostly in the upper 20s on most occasions in 3-point shooting. They only shot 23s. So that the number is down, but that means they're taking more quality shots. I don't even have to look at the game to tell you that those shots were quality shots. And the reason being is that their assist numbers, that's a good number to be up in that 14, 15 range. That means you're getting good balance. So those are the things that I really enjoy seeing. Seeing great numbers in rebounds and stuff of that nature. I definitely would like to see Derek Walker get more up into that, that double range, a lot more out of him. But here's a question for you, Bach. We have Eduardo Andre come in and play 13 minutes in the game and have 4 rebounds. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good clip of getting rebounds. But then but on the other end, we have almost a 6'8" guy in Lat Mayen playing 25 minutes in the game, having a good game. This is not a knock on him in his game, but this is the knock on him and his effort, especially on the area where if Nebraska is going to have any success, they have to have good rebound numbers. And I think they should have at least more from him, to the tune of maybe 5 to 7 a game. What's your thoughts on that for Lat Mayen?
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, his rebounding numbers, I suppose his minutes are down just a little bit from last season, but his rebounding numbers are down from last season. His points are down from last season. His 3-point shooting's down from last season. So it's kind of a bit of a rough season. Of course, it didn't start off the best way. I think he was sick for the first game or had a lingering injury that was keeping him out for a game or two to start the season, but just never really got going back on track. It seems like the last couple of games, he's less shy about shooting, kind of playing the role that he is expected to play, right? Is taking shots, somewhat open shots, but they don't have to be wide open. It seems like at times, during his career, he's got to take the wide open shot. If there's a guy that's closing out on him, he'd rather pump fake or, try to get something else going. If you're going to be an elite 3-point shooter, you're going to have to do it with somebody closing out on you. You're going to have to do it with a hand in your face once in a while. And it's not to take bad shots. At least, it's better that he doesn't do that. But, I just like the fact that he's willing and ready to take the shots these last couple of games and hitting them. You are right. The 2 rebounds, though, that's, just somebody that's 6'9" with his length should be getting a few more of those without looking at, so closely at his tape. I don't know, sometimes the rebound sometimes even goes to the wrong person if you're talking about whoever puts in the most hustle in to rebounds at times, right? If you have to block out the biggest guy, sometimes you're not going to get the rebound. A teammate will, but maybe it's more so that you're at least preventing them from getting the rebound. So I don't know how many plays he had like that played into it, but without a doubt, you're right. I mean, 2 rebounds. This this has become somewhat of a trend, I suppose, for him, is that he just doesn't, factor in too much into that. But he's been a guy through a lot of his career, just with his length, that a lot of things that he does that help the team, again, mostly just because of his length, don't show up in the stat column.
Yeah, I think that's a great point to make. I don't know for sure if I would buy into that. I beg to differ. Me being a 6'3" guy who had to do a lot of that dirty work and still had to go track, averaged almost 5 rebounds a game myself, just as a player. And I would venture to say up until my senior year, averaged about what he's averaging now in minutes per game, around that 25 to 27 area. So, and then I had to guard bigger guys. So yet still was able to go and do that. That's why I think I'll agree to disagree on that one. But call us on the Sauter Heyman. Text us on the Sauter Heyman text line at 402-464-5685. Here's the question that I want to pose to you. Do you think that what you saw last night was 20/20 vision or blurred lines? I'm not talking about Robin Thicke. I'm talking about is this an anomaly of a game, or do you expect this to be 20/20 vision on what we're going to see moving on? What's your thoughts on that based on what you saw last night? Me personally, I have a thought, but Bach, how do you view it? What are you seeing? Do you need to go to the doctor and get some eyes checked?
No, I feel pretty good. I think part of it might have been that Penn State was overlooking Nebraska. I think maybe sometimes we talk about it as being a get-right game, and Penn State wasn't really in that path, though. They had won 3 out of 4. They were probably feeling pretty good about themselves. And so it was kind of a surprising performance for Penn State more than anything to me. But part of it too is what I say about, modern day college basketball or basketball in general, especially in the NBA, actually, is that if one team's hitting, every shot they're throwing up from deep, sometimes those turn into blowouts just because it's hard to keep up with them. And, that's not Nebraska. That's not what Nebraska is going to do game in and game out and shoot 65% from beyond the arc. But if they're going to do it and they do it against you, that can add, they got 93 points for goodness sake. You can add quite a bit of a deficit there. And I think Penn State was dealing with that while at the same time doing a pretty good job keeping up when they could. For a while, they were matching Nebraska with those threes, but eventually were able to cool off. And as cool as it would be to see two teams shoot 65% from beyond the arc, that'd be a lot of fun, but it's just very unlikely to happen. So I think that's kind of a part of what factored in there. I don't expect Nebraska to continue with all those numbers. Near 60% from the field goal, just field goal overall. That's difficult to continue to do game after game. 65% from beyond the arc, of course, is an anomaly compared to what they normally do. Even 85% from the free throw line is going to be tough to replicate too often. But I do think that at least maybe the optimist in me is hoping that they did find something, that they're finally kind of maybe focusing more on those rebounds, playing through Derek Walker a bit more. Bryce McGowan, of course, have been growing this whole season. Alonzo's been playing good the last couple of games. So I can certainly see this extending into the Ohio State game, just maybe not quite at that pace with that, those fire type of numbers that they had as far as the percentages goes, just shooting.
Yeah, and the last time they gave Ohio State all they could want is they came up a little bit short. I think one of the other things that I liked about what they did is that they didn't have obviously there was a taper off because you began to just get other guys into the game, so forth and so on. But I also didn't feel that their second half, there was like the letdowns. You can tell me or correct me. Also call in on the Honda Lincoln hotline at 402-464-5685. We definitely want to hear from you and what you think. Do you think it's blurred lines, or do you think it's, a vision of something to see more to come in the future? We definitely would love to hear from you on that. I obviously one of my biggest issues that I had with the team is seeing them on how they come out after the half. What did you see coming out of the half in this game that was different than what we've seen in the past? And also those long tenured downtimes of runs, was that something that they experienced in this game? And how did they stop the bleeding that they didn't do in previous games that kept them to be able to keep the lead? Because we've seen them have big leads before, but we've also seen them decrease very quickly.
Yeah, I think that was one thing too coming out of the half. Alonso just kind of penetrated, got a play, got a foul, and got an and one. So it was basically, and that can be, especially on the first possession after going into a half, you're down 18 if you're Penn State, 49-31, and then you come out and give up an and one. You're just kind of thinking, oh, great, here we go again. It's more of the same. And Nebraska was able to kind of carry that momentum. And maybe it was part of just the great shooting that they were having. Again, lack of a daunting environment. Penn State, just not too many people interested or involved enough to go to that game. So, there was nothing, I think, distracting Nebraska as far as the crowd level goes. So I don't know. I don't know what it was about their change in approach. It was just kind of the same thing, is that they just kept the fire, whatever it was that was going. I don't know what they ate before, if it's a different meal or whatever they're doing. Maybe they had a nice little trip out there in State College to some, some sort of different team activity, but I'd do it again, because whatever it was, they just were shooting so well throughout the entire night. That it was that they were able to carry it over. And you expected it at some point for it to cool down. But it never really did. And they didn't have to, because of that, they didn't really have to go through, those 5-minute stretches where they can't get a field goal, and who do they turn to? But it should be worth noting too, this doesn't all just happen out of nowhere. They were sharing the ball really well, passing the ball well, finding open teammates. Again, the rebounds aren't just great in the rebound column. They open up second chance opportunities and wide open threes. There was one where Bryce missed a probably not a great decision on a 3-point shot. The rebound was given to Nebraska. They swung it back around, right back to where he was, same spot, and then he hit the second one. But the second one was wide open. The first one was not. So, that can kind of just be as simple as the defense, or as that can be. I should mention this too. Our text line is actually down. We're transitioning our text line a little bit. So if you do want to add into the show, 402-999-4620 is the text line for today. And I believe it will be for the next couple of days as we work out some kinks there with our text line is a bit of a problem. But 402-999-4620.
999-4620.
Yep.
Maybe I'll text in.
Yeah, maybe you can start it going there. We do have one response to the text line says clearly an anomaly at this point. And I think that's probably fair. It's a little late in the season. That's what's kind of frustrating. But I do kind of wonder, like, if they are able to carry this over to Ohio State and Wisconsin in the tournament, do you start to have faith in the system that Hoiberg has put together? Or is it too little too late, even if it results in some wins down the stretch where you finally see it all kind of coming together?
You hear that pause?
Yeah.
That pause is giving me, that's what I'm giving you. I'm giving you pause, and I'm not putting pause on you. I'm giving you pause because basically I still need a little more showmanship to show me ship to basically help me to feel better about, the direction going forward. I'm looking, I'm watching, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
And I think if I see a little bit more of what I saw tonight, and again, those little aspects in the recipe, even if I see them doing those things and I see them losing, for me, that'll give me a little bit more oomph in this particular issue. But until I see some of those things start to change, or until I see them not looking at the ball, just bouncing around over there and not, quick twitching towards it.
Yeah.
Until I start seeing stuff like that, I don't know. I might still have a little pause on the issue.
Yeah, and we didn't. You actually obviously had travel plans too on Friday, so you weren't able to react too much on, at least on the block, to not the extension, but I guess the reworking of Fred Hoiberg's contract, and Trev Alberts announcing that they were going to go ahead and move forward and continue with with Fred Hoiberg into next season. It's tough because at times this program has felt lifeless, and the frustration piles up, and obviously the record is so bad that it's hard for me to see too much of a life life, a heartbeat, I should say, in this program. But I think if they can get, a top 25 victory here down the stretch, or, even a Big Ten tournament victory, it can give you a little bit, not a whole lot. I mean, at this point, most of the story's written. I think it's going to be somewhat of a tough off season to get people bought back in. And they're certainly going to need to maintain a few of those key pieces, retain, I should say, a few of those key pieces, mainly, of course, Bryce McGowan's, for me to believe that they can make, build off of whatever this year was. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of a reset and new players coming in, not a whole lot of continuity, and that's been part of the problem. And I don't expect that to be part of the solution. So, that kind of tells you where you are, but you're just in such a difficult place as far as, getting too much momentum from anything outside of wins. At some point you need to win, and hopefully that Penn State game started it.
Yeah. And that's what I'm hoping to see. I was hoping that I would see something similar to what I've seen with Northwestern and similar even with Penn State and the run that they were able to make. I'm looking for a run. And if you're going to make a run, it's better to make that late run. I'm a great proponent of late runs. You can have the worst season of your life and you can make a late run and everybody will forget. They will remember what happened. There are some things that happened during that, but they will forget what the dramas of it, the major problems of it, the boos of it, all of that stuff, they'll forget, because the whole narrative changed for us after losing 10 straight and then going on to win a national championship. Albeit it wasn't the NCAA, but still, there's been teams that have come off national championships of that type and made good runs into the NCAA the next season, depending on what they have following up from that. So I would venture to say a good late run would bode good for the conversations that the staff is going to have with Fred Hoiberg is going to have with those young men that may be trying to pass on to the next level of whatever it is, internationally or towards the NBA. That could bode well for a good conversation of, hey, you see it. How are we gonna make this run back? But that's neither here nor there. Again, text us at the line that we're going to have right now going forward is 402-999-4620. That's the Honda Lincoln hotline as well?
No, you can still, if you want to call in, you can still call in 402-464-5685.
There you go. So the same Honda Lincoln hotline is the 402-464. We always, if we can get an opportunity to get you in on the block, we would love to talk to you and hear your thoughts. We talk a lot. I know I talk a lot, but sometimes we want to hear you talk about it. And we're going to take a break right now. Come back, because it was a crazy, crazy Saturday that jumped off in college basketball. And we're going to talk about it right here on the block when we come back after this.
You spend more time in your garage than outdoors in the wintertime. Isn't it time to get it organized? Call Travis at Classic Garage Solutions for his variety of organization packages. Turn your garage from a cluttered mess to a clean, organized space that'll be the envy of the neighborhood and something you can be proud of. You don't need to bring the same clutter from last year into the new year. Travis has storage options for cabinets, monkey bar shelving, or slat wall, and more. Call Classic Garage Solutions today at 402-730-1638.
Do you know the signs of an opioid overdose? Talk to your physician and pharmacist about naloxone, a drug used to safely reverse an opioid overdose. I'm Dr. Rob Rhodes, a Nebraska family practice physician. Be Opie ready and download a free overdose support tool, the Opie Rescue app. Search Opie Ready for more information.
Paid for by the CDC. Sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services and aired in cooperation with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC. And things have obviously been pretty challenging lately with new vehicles, with all the microchip and supply chain issues, but things continue to loosen up as Koppel gets more and more new vehicles in each and every week. We've had many customers also custom order their vehicles. So if you don't see what you want in our current inventory, we can put an order in to get exactly what you want. So go online, reserve your new vehicle at koppelcars.com. You'll be glad you did.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round, and their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
You hear that? That's the sound of extremely tender and delicious beef from certified Piedmontese. Prime grade tenderness with a fraction of the fat and calories of normal beef. It's Nebraska-raised product and the official beef of Nebraska Athletics. Change the way you buy beef today at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, just north of 84th and Havelock, or at cpmercado.com.
High school sports on 93.7 The Ticket are brought to you by the Lincoln Convention and Visitors Bureau. It's the most wonderful time of the year, and Lincoln is excited to welcome big events to our community. Find out what's happening in Lincoln by visiting lincoln.org.
If your home isn't delivering the year-round comfort you expect, call the experts at Bryant. Warm and cool, comfort and confidence. Bryant Air Conditioning and Heating. Call 467-1111.
In a world where fun and cash prizes collide, one game explodes to the forefront. Cash Blast from the Nebraska Lottery. Non-stop excitement, a winning thrill ride, and starring you. Until April 12th. Play 2x2 weekly for a chance to win $5,000 or $500. And if your ticket was a 7-day draw, your prize is doubled. Don't miss it. Cash Blast playing at a lottery retailer near you. 2x2 top prize odds 1 in 105,000.
Attention anyone standing near a mud puddle. Trucks and Bucks is back, so take cover. The Nebraska Lottery's most popular scratch game is roaring down the road again. And this year, we're giving away 8 blue 2022 Ford F-150 XLT Super Crew Flex Fuel trucks. So buy a $2 Trucks and Bucks ticket today. You could win a new Ford F-150 and make a real splash in your neighborhood. Ford F-150 is a registered trademark owned and licensed by Ford Motor Company. Top prize odds 1 in 336,000.
These days, there are more reasons than ever to treat yourself to a great haircut at Great Clips with the online check-in app. So tell us, why do you check in?
I check in because I'm tired of hat hair. I check in because we all need a cut.
I check in so I can feel like me.
And I check in so I look good for you.
No matter why you check in, you'll check out with a great haircut and save time with our online check-in app. Great Clips. It's going to be great.
Back to On the Block with Strick and Bach on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're back on the block. We just finished talking about the Huskers and the Husker big win in Penn State, but there's also some big losses that occurred on this Saturday. But before we get into that, we have Pat on the Honda of Lincoln hotline. Pat, what did you see? Did you see blurred lines, or did you have 20/20 vision of a potential future as you would like to see it as far as the Huskers and their play on this weekend?
Well, first of all, thanks for taking my call. I'll tell you what I did see. I saw that Penn State arena looking mighty empty, and I guess I'd like to know your take, Strick. If you tell me, do players notice that stuff? I mean, do they think, hey, maybe I've got it pretty good at Nebraska? Nebraska's got thousands of fans, even when the team is doing, historically bad. Do you think that might cause some players to stick around next year just because they see that Nebraska's got better fan support than a lot of other places around?
Oh, I would venture to say that for me, Pat, that conversation is one I would have as a coach. As I look around and I go to different places like that, even some good teams, I would be pitching that as a means by which to, you guys could turn this place. I mean, Danny used to basically tell us all the time, depending on what we gave on the court and what we brought and the way that we looked when we played, and if we played a certain way, that they would show up, and we saw it. And so I would venture to say that's a great selling pitch. That's a great point to make. And I think it also, I would say this, after playing during the COVID season, if any of those players have been around during COVID season, all those empty gyms, it felt like a practice that was going on in there, right? So I would say that hopefully that wasn't the case. I know Nebraska didn't have any people in the gym during that period, and maybe they got used to it. So for them, it was like, this is back. We've seen this before. So yeah, it does make a difference though. I don't care what anybody says. I think having a good fan base, one that's rooting for you and supporting you, that does make a difference. It makes a difference in how you normally would play the game. So great question. What you say, Bob?
Yeah, I mean, I say this every year when I see Penn State. It's amazing the lack of. I don't know if it's amazing. Maybe just to us here at Nebraska, where you see the fan support be so high and kind of regardless of how the team's doing, and especially if a team is winning. It doesn't matter what sport it is. Nebraska fans will go out there and support them. Penn State's the opposite. I mean, it's tough. Talk about a football school. It is tough. I mean, they've got some other things going for them too. But it's definitely not a basketball school. It's almost frustrating as a basketball fan to watch them year in and year out in the lack of support that they get there, because they're not always a bad program. They can get some. They have a few years where they kind of get going, and then the fans will start to trickle in a little bit more. But when they're not competing, when they're not like maybe playing a top 25 opponent or on the verge of going to the NCAA tournament, everybody bails on them there. So I mean, to me, it would be hard if I have a scholarship offered to several different places that are kind of at Penn State's level, to not notice that. I just watching Nebraska go there every year. I don't watch a whole lot of Penn State basketball, but just watching Nebraska go there every year, I'm reminded, of how poor their fan base is at keeping up on basketball. It just doesn't seem to be like the football school overwhelms there, where at other football schools, especially at Nebraska, it doesn't.
Yeah. we had to deal with that quite often, but we didn't have to deal with that because the thing I think that's uniquely different from Nebraska is that they actually want it. I don't think that you can see that they just want it. It goes back to the Field of Dreams. Remember when they said in the Field of Dreams, they said, if you build it, they will come. That's Nebraska. Doggone baseball for so many years had been terrible. Boom. They still support it. Everybody liked to go out and watch a game and so forth and so on. Then they blow up, and now it's like they can't even get a ticket. Volleyball, who fills out a freaking whole basketball arena? I mean, that's freaking crazy to me. But that's a tool that's being used for those women. It's inspiring to get them to want to not only want to come, but to play in those types of atmospheres. That's great. Pinnacle Bank Arena is a tremendous facility. And if you build it, they will come. I mean, that's what blows my mind, is just that how can you not lay it on the line? How could every night you not want to lay it on the line? And so I think sometimes that is some of the most frustrating things about it, Bach. But, that's a great point you made as well. And thanks for Pat for calling in on the Honda Lincoln hotline. You can also text us again on the Sauter Heyman text line. The new number there is 402-999-4620. Again, it's 402-999-4620. Excuse me. So, but Bach, crazy, super crazy weekend. The top, there were 7 of them. So Gonzaga falls to St. Mary's 67-57. Arizona takes an L at Colorado. My guy, Samaki Walker's son, getting busy over there.
There we go.
Jabari, yes. Good win for them against number 2 Arizona. Number 3 Auburn also takes the L against number 17 Tennessee. Very close game there in the SEC at 67-62. Purdue, one of the top 10s in the Big Ten, falls to Michigan State. Again, they're one of the teams that just gets beat by the last second buzzer beaters. They've taken a couple of them L's, and Michigan State gives it to them again, 68-65. Kansas in the Big 12 loses to number 10 Baylor in a top 10 matchup there, 80-70. And Kentucky in the SEC falls to number 18 Arkansas by 2. And the last one, and you notice the difference in all of these, right? The majority of all of those first ones I just said were all on the road. Okay, that happens. Big game, come in, hype, boom, you take an L. You got just outran in the gym that night. But this one, number 9 Texas Tech lost to TCU at home, 69-63. And those sometimes are hard to bite, especially when it's not a highly ranked opponent. Bach, what did you see over that weekend, and how does it fare when you're looking at the NCAA tournament approaching for seeding purposes, depending on who you lost to? Is it going to affect you? And also, some of the things I think people don't understand is, yes, there's these top quality teams and there's so much turnover from given times and weeks, and not too many people sustain it for the longevity of the whole year as they've had those types of dominant teams in the past. There's so much parity, it seems like now. And what did you see in this top 10, basically blowouts of, just tremendous victories from these teams that basically got it done against these great powerhouse teams?
Well, like you said, what I saw was a lot of fans storming the court because a lot of these victories were on the road. A few of these teams, again, losses that are hard fought, like Kansas, you lose to a top 10 team in Baylor, defending national champ. There's no shame in that. Kind of pick up and go where you left off. Auburn losing to number 17 Tennessee, same type of thing. I mean, Tennessee's a really solid squad, really got going, caught fire in the second half. St. Mary's and Gonzaga, you can say a little bit different. Like, St. Mary's is the second best team in that conference. They're number 23, so they're also ranked in the WCC. But it's interesting for Gonzaga, especially, coming off of last year where they were undefeated, obviously going into the tournament. Everybody's starting to put them up there with greatest of all time here and there. And they just don't play that level of competition enough. It is a bit alarming to me that they did drop this game because the last time I watched the last game that they played, they just, St. Mary's, it was probably just the shooting that night, but they could not keep up no matter what they did. I mean, they lost by, almost 20 points, I believe, the first meeting. For Gonzaga to drop that game, it's not a good look. I mean, but it's also hard. I mean, because you're also asking, I don't care what level of competition you play, you're also asking them to win every game that they play in that conference and by a considerable margin. But they do, and that's what's a little bit alarming about it, is that they're beating everybody by 20. So all of a sudden to lose by 10 to a St. Mary's team that they, again, beat by almost 20 earlier in the season, a little bit alarming. But, I mean, just for them, I mean, altogether for college basketball, it's interesting because there's nothing better than a week of like the top 6 teams losing to let you know this thing's going to be pretty wide open. As certain years there's teams that overwhelm and just kind of the senior classes come together, or they have the best player in the nation. I don't necessarily feel like there's going to be an overwhelming favorite. I think there's going to be a lot of upsets in the tournament. And so maybe, hopefully, even for some people that love the mayhem that is supposedly coming in March, the madness, hopefully that was a preview of what we will see here once we start filling out our brackets.
Hey, listen, they don't call it March Madness for nothing. Every year I come in and I'm not going to say I have killer bracket busters. Hey, that was a tongue twister. They have, I'm not going to say I totally have, or I go with the super powerhouses, because I normally, when I pick my brackets, I normally have picked some good upsets, like some of the crazy ones where people are like, oh, there's no way, oh, they're going through this. And then my points, because each level you go through the bracket, you get a certain amount of points, and my points would be up there a little bit because I didn't pick the 13 against the the 3 or stuff like that. So I think you're gonna see that like never before. And I said this because what happened was COVID, and people sometimes be like, Strick just be talking. He don't even. I think he just be throwing stuff against the wall. But I'm telling you, I think this COVID situation, because now you've got these extra seniors, these COVID seniors on a lot of teams that would have loved to recycle, because normally you've got that 4 to 5 year cycle, but that was extended an extra. So a lot of kids that weren't able to go to the school maybe of their choice ended up taking secondary choices. So there were some teams that end up, i.e. Murray States and the likes of these types of teams, that end up getting really good talent because they're looking to go to second tier talent that has made noise before. So you're going to get those tiers that get missed by some of those big schools fall into teams like that, which is going to raise the level, which is going to open up the parity of the whole totality of college basketball, meaning that on a given night, you've got some Dwayne Wade types with chips on their shoulder that ended up going to Marquette because no one was really looking at him, and he's a freaking Hall of Famer. And you've got a Ja Morant that ends up getting passed over, finding himself falling down there to us. And you've got guys like Tyronn Lue, who we got on early, that ended up basically everybody and their mama was coming after him late, but he had the loyalty to stay to who got with him early. So you have a lot of these types of situations now where these teams are going to start busting people upside their head when it comes tournament time, and you're going to see some bracket busters, I think, come March Madness.
Oh yeah, I can definitely see it. It's just the level. Sometimes it's kind of funny because you look between maybe like a 4 and a 7 seed and think a complete, different, era or kind of rank among them. But then you look at the top 25; they're all, it's not. They might be separated by like 5 spots, and what difference does that really make? All together, and then of course the top 25 isn't held together by the surest of hands to begin with either. So all these teams, you look at them. With 4+ losses, basically everybody's in that category except for Arizona, who plays in the Pac-12, kind of a weak Pac-12, but they're up there at number 2, and Gonzaga, who we already mentioned, plays in the weakest of the conferences. So it's just one of those years where you don't have the team or the 1 or 2 teams that you go, well, that's definitely going to be the favorite. Everybody's kind of bunched in there with, depending on what kind of you think about their strength of schedule or the amount of teams that they play, 4, 5, 6 losses. There's a lot of teams in that category, and even some teams that can get hot with a few more losses that might be able to factor into the equation as well. And as always, there's upsets, there's craziness, and hopefully there will be some last second shots and some fun going down for that. But it's just one of those things, and I think that parity has been hitting a little bit hard. For the majority of the tournament's history, you're usually able to say, well, there's about 5 or 6 teams that are going to win that, because there's about 5 or 6 programs that typically win the tournament. Every once in a while, you'll get a surprise. Over the last couple of years, like Baylor, that's not one of those typical teams, but obviously they worked their way up to be one of the top seeded teams last year. But I mean, the perfect example is Virginia won in the national championship right after losing to the number 16 seed. And so, I mean, there was a day where we thought that would never happen, but it's because those 16 seeds just didn't look like they belonged on the court with the number 1 teams. Nowadays, 15 seeds, 14 seeds, 16 seeds, they do have that, that kind of level of talent that you can see. And, it's not as, but the bigger part is the top overall teams, they don't have the 4-year seniors, the veterans. I always go back to that Duke team, kind of in the early 2000s, where Shane Battier was like one of the best college players of all time. And then Jay Williams comes and he's even better. And Carlos Boozer's like a 4th-year seeder, and Elton Brand's a junior. It's just, and Mike Dunleavy's wait until he graduates to leave. How is college basketball ever going to have one of those teams again? Now, if anybody gets a sniff of the first round, they're out.
Yeah, and that's why also a good assessment as to why the parity has become what it is now, because a lot of these kids don't stay, and so you're not able to amass that powerhouse that you used to have. Now, Kentucky used to get away with it a lot because of the fact that their high levels of turnover, but their high levels of bringing in. Everybody was just excited about the opportunity to go to Kentucky and be able to make that next jump. And so they were using that as that opportunity. But I think now some kids are just like, I can make the jump from anywhere. I'm going to go here and ball out. And so, because I was going to ask that question, I'm like, what happened to Virginia's? What happened to the Virginias? What happened to the Syracuses? What happened? Right now you're looking at the Big East, and this, I think speaks to what I was talking about. You got Providence up there that just came out of nowhere. They were kind of knocking on the door. They were kind of peeking their head. They'd win a few every now and then against some big teams, but at the end of the day, now they've basically taken over the Big East. So it's like, man, but I look back and say, what happened to the UCLAs? What happened to the those types of UNLVs? Like you ain't heard of UNLVs like since the 90s, like basically.
Yeah.
So I mean, in my mind, that's what I think about sometimes. It's crazy.
Yeah,
but,
I can
go ahead. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I want you to say what you're gonna say before we take this break and get into hitting the hardwood.
Yeah, I figure we better get into there, so I'll just start playing the music and let you go.
All right, we'll come back right in and we'll finish up with hitting the hardwood with Strick. We'll have a few minutes to talk a little bit about LeBron James. You already know how I feel about that. We'll be back.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now they've raised wages again and they're hiring for production operators at $22.07 per hour and other select jobs starting at $23.77 per hour, with wages growing up to $29.71 per hour. Continental also has salaried jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates. To learn more or to apply, go to continental-jobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back in the future.
Sauter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SauterHeyman.com.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by Security First Bank, a relationship you can count on.
Shaping up to be a beautiful end to the month of February. We'll top out near 67. Cloud cover this morning will give way to plenty of sunshine this afternoon, and we will be looking at northwest winds around 10 to 15. Tonight, mainly clear, low of 32. Even warmer tomorrow for the start of March with a high of 74. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
In a world where fun and cash prices collide, one game explodes to the forefront. Cash Blast from the Nebraska Lottery. Non-stop excitement, a winning thrill ride, and starring you. Until April 12th. Play 2x2 weekly for a chance to win $5,000 or $500. And if your ticket was a 7-day draw, your prize is doubled. Don't miss it. Cash Blast playing at a lottery retailer near you. 2x2 top prize odds 1 in 105,000.
Attention anyone standing near a mud puddle. Trucks and Bucks is back, so take cover. The Nebraska Lottery's most popular scratch game is roaring down the road again. And this year, we're giving away 8 blue 2022 Ford F-150 XLT Super Crew Flex Fuel trucks. So buy a $2 Trucks and Bucks ticket today. You could win a new Ford F-150 and make a real splash in your neighborhood. Ford F-150 is a registered trademark owned and licensed by Ford Motor Company. Top prize odds 1 in 336,000.
You can search online for hours to find the best electricians in Lincoln and the surrounding area, but I'll save you time. High Electric has been serving their customers for 30 years for both residential and commercial properties. They're experts in everything electrical, from remodeling to new additions, hot tub installations, electric vehicle chargers or EV chargers, lighting, ceiling fans, and more. High Electric takes jobs from Beatrice to Omaha and all towns, big or small, in between. Call them today at 402-466-6606 or learn more at highelectric.com. Sandhills Global is hiring. Check out sandhills.jobs for more information. Sandhills is looking to fill hundreds of new openings in sales, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Sandhills has a professional culture and is fast-paced with a focus on growth, innovation, and leading-edge technologies. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Apply today at sandhills.jobs. High school sports on 93.7 The Ticket are brought to you by the Lincoln Convention and Visitors Bureau. It's the most wonderful time of the year, and Lincoln is excited to welcome big events to our community. Find out what's happening in Lincoln by visiting lincoln.org.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the KNTK Studios, 330 North 48th Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeited. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
Back to On the Block with Strick and Bach on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back here on the block on 93.7 The Ticket. It's time for Hitting the Hardwood, our daily segment on the NBA. And, of course, we have Eric Strickland here as we round out the show. Today I want to talk about LeBron James, a name that we don't mention too much on Hitting the Hardwood, right? I mean, who talks about LeBron James too much anymore? Oh, yeah, that's right. I mean, I think everybody still does. 29 points per game right now, 8 rebounds per game as well, to go with 6 assists per game. So, I mean, he's still having an incredible year, especially for his age, of course, at the age of 37. Yet Rick Bucher tweeted this out. He said, an anonymous GM told him, LeBron is still good, but he can't carry you anymore. And maybe that is true. I think certainly part of that's probably true throughout the length of a regular season. The idea with bringing AD in a couple years ago was that they were going to be able to lean on him, and LeBron wouldn't have to do so much heavy lifting. But I gotta wonder, especially, I mean, a guy that's averaging 29, 8, and 6. I gotta think that he would be among the guy. I mean, he's obviously one of the greatest players of all time to go along with it. I mean, it's LeBron we're talking about. I don't know if he's at that point of his career where I would say that. And it's a lot of times it's people racing to that. People have been burying Tom Brady, 6, 7, 8 years ago, saying he's too old for this or that, and they want to be the first one to be right about it. I don't know. I just, and I know it's not working well with the Lakers right now, but I don't know if a broken AD and a Russell Westbrook experiment that was never going to work out too well, an aging roster and everything that's going on in LA, I don't know if that means that you can't win with LeBron leading you. I think if you put him on a young roster, maybe Cleveland's, he might be the best player, and that might be able to elevate them to a championship contender type level.
Well, the problem with that is they don't want him. So it's already been said. They basically they're tired of that. The problem that has been with LeBron is that he shows up and it's been a different type of cancer. Yes, you had some success, but it's been a different type of cancer, because he shows up, you have some short-term success, and then he bounces and leaves you stuck in, or let me just use the Scott Frost word, kicking the turd.
Yeah.
So that's the part that makes executives or GMs a little bit leery, because what is he going to want? What is he going to expect? How much is he going to blow your team up? How many assets are you going to have to give away? What are you going to have to do to acquire it? And at the end of the day, is it worth it? Now, I can see a young 20-something LeBron possibly, but, a working on 40-something LeBron, I don't know. And then he's going to want you, if he does stay for a little tenure, maybe that 3 to 4 year tenure that he's usually been good for on most teams, that 3 to 4 year, and then all of a sudden your team's blown up. If he has to do that, and then all of a sudden you need to go draft my son.
Yeah.
Are you the GM that's going to want to take that opportunity and possibly lose your job? Because you're going to lose LeBron in a year or two, and then what if he don't pan out? So do you want that smoke? There might be somebody out there that might want it, but Stricky, if I'm GM, I'm not touching.
I'm interested. I do think you're right. I mean, I think he's at a point in his career where you don't let him take over the roster and do the GM thing that he's been doing and blowing up teams on his way out. But it will be interesting to kind of see what he does. I mean, if he has a legacy that includes being the third best player on a few championship teams on his way out, how would that kind of change how we view him? It's interesting, and we'll have to see. He wants to play until Bronny gets there, like you said. So
his ego, I don't know if his ego will let him be the number 3 guy.
I don't know either, but
he might take a Robin role, but number 3.
I gotta tell you, I'm going to start with them over almost averaging 30. I know it's not on a great team, but still has 37 season. Yeah. Anyway, that'll wrap it up for us here on the block as we go out. Ticket Weeknights is coming up next. We'll be back on the block tomorrow.
You can search online for hours to find the best electricians in Lincoln and surrounding